back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you all about all the books that I read in April. And I read 12 books in April. I am very pleased with how much I read in April. Like, I honestly can't believe that I read that many books. So some of the books I have put away already into the like donation for library or the keep box and stuff. I just don't feel like hunting around and finding them all. So I think one or two of them were ebook too. So I'll post a little picture while I'm talking about them. Alright, so the first book is The Sin Eater's Daughter by Melinda Salisbury. Follows a young woman named Twyla who is to marry the Prince of Lormere. She is also the kingdom's executioner. Her touch is deadly, and she is believed to be an avatar of the goddess of Dwanin. But questionable things happen, and after the king dies, Twyla discovers a horrible truth and a deadly plot. Now she, along with the prince and her guard, must stop the queen. So the characters were well written and believable. Towards the end, Twyla's decision-making attempts were kind of off, and they frustrated me a little bit. So the world building was decent. They have this kind of, I don't know, religious belief thing set up about that, like in regards to absolving sin. I think it's Catholics where you go and you tell your sins to a priest, and he gives you like some kind of penance to do, and or something like that, and absolves you of your sins. It's kind of like that, but it involves like having someone called the Sin Eater who basically eats, like, there's foods that represent sins that you've done throughout your life, and the Sin Eater goes to your home and eats the food to absolve the person who's dead their sins. That's really interesting. I really like that concept. So I did end up rating this book 4 stars. It was a decent book. I think there are 2 more books in this series, along with I think maybe 2 or 3 little short story novella type books. So I will be continuing on with it. The next book I read is The Drowning Eyes by, I believe, Emily Foster. I forgot to write the title, or the author's name. But it's a small little novella. And I'm not normally a fan of small stories, just because I like to get, you know, just caught up in world building and character development. Like, I love having kind of, not necessarily info dump, but I love learning things about that world. That's what I believe that draws you into it, you know? So this book follows a young woman who goes on a journey to take back an icon that was stolen from her temple as it was being destroyed. She hires a small crew to take her north under the impression that she is running from a forced marriage, but she is actually a wind speaker from that temple in training and has the ability to call forth some storms. She's going to find a compass. She needs to find a compass to lead her to the icon. And then once she finds the icon, it's on a ship called, I think they're called the dragon ships. They're from another, I don't know, land or something, and they're kind of like invading a little bit. So she has to kind of try to get the icon away from them. I kind of like the characters a little bit, you know, like I said, we're not given a whole bunch of detail, background, and shorter stories, but they were okay. The very last chapter is like a huge time jump. Like, we end at a good thing. We're like, to me, things are kind of like going downhill a little bit, but there's still room to kind of maneuver and have some interesting things happen, but we just get a time jump towards the end of the story, like how everyone's basically living their lives now, and that lost it for me. Plot was kind of meh. Like, there wasn't, I mean, it was decent. Like I said, a longer book, I think we would have gotten more detail, more in depth. I would have enjoyed it more. But I ended up rating this book 2 stars. I don't know if there's more. I don't know if this is like a novella series or something. I'm just not interested in reading anymore. Next, I read The Gilded Cage by Vic James. So the plot was really interesting. The skilled keep their secrets kind of about their skills kind of, you know, close to them, because to find out their power can kind of sort of, you know, find out their weakness, and it's a lot of political things doing with that. Characters, I kind of like the characters. Abby and one of the Jardines at Kyneston, they did have kind of like an insta-love thing going on. So like one chapter they had like butterfly feelings for each other, and then next they were like, I will fucking die for you. I did not like that. I wish it would have been a lot more slow burning. So the world building in this story, it wasn't nothing, you know, fantastical, anything like that. So at first I did rate this book 4 stars, and then I got thinking about it, and I really did not like the kind of insta-love that happened. So I knocked it down to 3.5 stars. Next, I read the second book, Tarnished City by Vic James. It continues to follow Abby, Luke, and the others, along with some new characters, as they fight to end the slave days and gain freedom for all of the unskilled. The morally gray characters are still morally gray. The unskilled members and the resistance show new strengths. The asshole characters are still assholes, by the way, which is wonderful. There are a couple of deaths and character arc twists that I did not see coming, and I really, really enjoyed. The world is crumbling and stands at the precipice of either completely falling or being stabilized and made great without the harsh beatings and penalties enforced by the slave days. It had betrayals and twists and turns, and I just really enjoyed reading further into the world. It was really, really good, and I rated it 4 stars. Next, I read Reign of the Fallen by Sarah Glenn Marsh. Death, love, friendship, betrayal, and some gory action happened. So I did rate this book 4.5 stars, and I do have a spoiler-free review up in case you are interested. Next, I read Everless by Sarah Holland, and this book is about a young woman named Jules who decides to work in an estate called Everless to collect time for herself and for her father. In this world, time is collected from your blood. I think the iron in your blood. So Jules has a history with Everless, but risks being found for the sake of her father. But things aren't as they seem at Everless, and when tragedy strikes, Jules is determined to right the wrongs done to everyone. So the plot was interesting, but it kind of lost momentum for me towards the end. Characters, they weren't the best fleshed out, but they were just okay. Jules was a little all over the place, to be honest, and some of her actions didn't make sense. Roan was not convincing enough as a potential love interest, and like something just felt kind of off to me about him. And then Lucian was just, I don't know, it was kind of confusing with him. But even after his actions are explained, like I didn't really believe them. So world building was okay, you know, like it wasn't a whole bunch for needed to be said. Like I followed along pretty well. And then I read this book in 5.5 hours. While it isn't the best book I've ever read, it isn't the worst either. I'm not super happy with how things ended, but it looks like at least there will be a sequel. So I will be continuing on with this story. I hope it, you know, amps up a little bit, gets a little bit better. And I rated this book 4 stars. Next, I read The Six Gun Tarot, and I have a spoiler-free review up in case anyone's interested. It was really good. I ended up rating this book 4 stars. Next, I read The Shotgun Arcana, which is the second book by R.S. Belcher. There are a lot of racial slurs and prejudice in this book, like a freaking lot. But it didn't, like, I don't know, it didn't like make me hate the book though. The crew is back. The original concept of murder, like you think beginning of time, like beginning of everything. The concept of murder, of death, you know, just ugh, you know, it's back, and it's trying to cause mayhem and chaos, and it's up to the sheriff and everyone else to stop the madness that has decided to destroy the town of Golgotha. I love the characters, I love the plot, I love the, you know, the world building. The town is much larger than what it was in the first book. I really, really love the book, and I rated it 5 stars. Next, I read The Huntress of Thornback Forest. I forgot who wrote the book, but I'll have the author's name down below. It's kind of like a mashup for me of like Swan Princess meets Robin Hood. So this book is about a young woman named Odette who almost nightly hunts in the forest to provide the poor with food. It is illegal to hunt in the forest, but Odette takes the risk willingly. She meets a man who is the forester for the Margrave, and although she grows fond of him, she knows she cannot let him find out her secret. A more sinister plot unfolds, and Odette's secret is found out. So you're just trying to, it's just a cute little feel-good story. Decent plot, and characters who sometimes came off as corny, but I really liked him. And I rated this book 3 stars. Next, I read Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Follows a young boy named Fitz after he is dropped off at the castle by his maternal grandfather for his father to raise. Fitz is a bastard, and his father, Prince Chivalry, is king in waiting, so he's next in line for the throne. At first, Fitz is handed over to Prince Chivalry's stable master to be raised, but as Fitz grows, King Shrewd takes an interest in him and has him trained in weapons and secretly as an assassin. It is a very, very good story about his life from about 7 to 13-ish, about him just trying to find his place in the world. I really enjoyed the plot. The characters, I freaking loved the characters in this book. She did an amazing job with the characters in this book. And I love how she decided to name them. I loved it. And then the world building was well written and exciting, and I freaking loved it, and I rated it 5 stars. Next, I read the second book, A Royal Assassin. This is the Farseer trilogy. I don't want to say a whole bunch because of spoilers, but someone dies, someone goes on a quest, someone does a whole bunch of betraying and backstabbing, and another one finds love. I love this book, except for a little bit of the romance plot. I was kind of, nah, but I still rated this book 5 stars. And then finally, I read the third book in the Farseer trilogy, which is Assassin's Quest. This book continues to follow Fitz, Night Eyes, Burke, Molly, Regal, Verity, and many others on a journey and race to find the Elderlings. Fitz faces old and new enemies and obstacles, and it is just an emotional roller coaster of feelings. Like, wonderful conclusion to this trilogy, and I'm excited, so excited to continue on with the rest of her books. Like, thank you so much for everyone that have watched, that has expounded on how great these books are. I freaking loved them. I rated it 5 stars. Holy freaking crap. Alright guys, that is it for my April wrap up. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Maybe consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. My Twitter and Goodreads accounts will be linked down below in case you want to follow me on any other social media. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.